Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a brand new episode of the Spearhead Sundays podcast. And I'm very excited to say that the UK, Ireland, and, well, that's it. UK and Ireland shows are on sale now. I'm going to England, Scotland, and Ireland, loosespears.com, and I'm typing that into my own browser to find out my own dates because I don't know them. We have London on October 19th. Then we go to Birmingham, Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Liverpool, then over to Ireland, Belfast, and Dublin. We have a couple more cities we're going to add. I want to add Nottingham because I want to go back to Warhammer World and I don't want to get lost on the way home. And also in May 9, I've got 2 Sydney shows. One of them is sold out. Then May 10, I've got 2 Sydney shows. One of them is sold out. The other one has tickets. Then May 16, I've got 2 Brisbane shows. One is sold out. The second one we've added. Then May 30 and 31, I have 2 Adelaide shows, but they are all filling up fast. Loosespears.com. Get your tickets. I cannot wait to go back to the UK. All right? Because, and this is what you're probably here for, the Pope has passed and there's going to be a brand new Pope. Are we all excited about the new Pope? I've been really obsessed with the whole process. There's something very cool about Catholicism that really you understand why every single autistic guy in their 30s starts to convert to Catholicism. I'm not so much a fan of all of the child molestation, but I love the costumes and the rituals and the rules. Not all the rituals, just the more public ones. But dude, there's something very cool about Catholicism, man. And the Pope has passed. May God rest his soul. And now they're going to elect a new one. So I've had a look into the process of how they elect a new Pope, and I thought we would talk about that here. So what they do when the Pope dies, right? They have to they get a guy in to check that he's dead. And firstly, can I just say how cool it is to do Easter and then die? That's cool as fuck. This guy did a reverse Jesus. He was like, Jesus has risen and I'm going to lie down. That's cool as, right? The Pope does his Easter service. He goes, God gives you eternal life. He talks to JD Vance and he's like, hey, stop being mean to the Browns. Anyway, I'm out of here, and fucking dies. That's metal. That's cool as fuck, dude. After he dies, they get a guy in, and I didn't know this. Pope Francis is not his birth name. They choose a new name. They name themselves after a previous saint. I think some autistic man in their 30s will correct me on all of the things I get wrong here. Actually, so much of Catholicism is just rules for autistic blokes to just run their lives by, you know? The rosary bead is the original fidget spinner. You know? Just a bunch of undiagnosed virgins walking around with a fidget spinner in their pocket, counting their beads, shaving a bald patch into their head intentionally because they saw one guy and thought, oh, that looks really cool. I can't wait for male pattern baldness to set in. I got to do that to myself. I'm gonna look like Friar Stevens or whatever the fuck. Anyway, so the Pope dies, and they get a guy in to confirm that he's dead. And the way that they confirm it is they say his birth name 3 times. And if the Pope doesn't say anything, he goes, "Yeah, guy's dead." Right? But now it's the process to elect the next Pope. So what happens is they get all of the cardinals, I think they're called, and all of the cardinals have to meet in the Sistine Chapel, one with all the shit on the roof, and they close the doors. No mobile phones, no communication with the outside, no information in or out, right? And they say that is to stop any sort of outside influence getting in that changes people's minds on who should be the next Pope. And one of the people voting is going to be the next Pope, right? And they have to vote up to 4 times a day, twice in the morning, twice in the afternoon. And every time they vote, they are all voting on one of them in that room to become the next pope, right? And every time they vote, smoke comes out of the chimney. And the way they decide who becomes the next pope is he needs to get a 2/3 majority of the vote. So 2/3 of the cardinals, or whatever they're called, have to decide who the next pope is. And every time they vote and they don't get a decision, black smoke or grey smoke comes out of the chimney. But when they finally do decide on the next pope, white smoke will come out of the chimney, right? This is what is so fascinating about it, is like, when did that ritual come in? Like, how many popes in was that? That's a cool idea. How do you even make white smoke? What are they burning? The previous pope? Maybe that's how they do it, you know? Every time they cast their votes, right, and they don't get a majority, they burn the previous votes. That's the black smoke. When they finally lock in a new pope, they chuck the old pope into the furnace, and because he's so holy, he burns white. That's got to be it. One of the world's most famous tourist attractions will take center stage as the process begins to elect a new head of the Catholic Church after the death of Pope Francis. Cardinals will convene in the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City to vote in a papal conclave. One of them will leave as the new pope. It is a tradition shrouded in secrecy, but this is what we know about how it works. I love that the publicly stated reason as to why they don't allow any outside communication is, of course, they're going, oh, we don't really want any outside influence getting in that affects who might become the next pope. It can't be a corrupt process. I know for sure, well, not for sure, but you know, we know the real reason why they don't want any information going in and out. It's not really about information going in. I think it's to stop information going out, because you fucking know that if every single cardinal who's been a cardinal there like for decades, a Catholic their entire life, they've climbed that Catholic ladder all the way up, almost to get a direct line to God, right? You know that a lot of them want to be Pope, and a lot of them have sinned, right? So I bet that a lot of that meeting is like, no, we can't vote for John because I saw him at the brothel. I mean, someone else saw him at the brothel and then told me about it. Nah, Peter's got a wife. Peter has a wife. He can't be. Peter's fucking. No, absolutely not. Michael can't be the Pope because I know what Michael gets up to with the altar boys. What do you mean, how do I know that? Rumor. It's just rumor. I guarantee you a fuckload of secrets get out. Like, the girls are getting together to gossip, to decide who is the least sinful, who will be the best pope, because every human being is very sinful, obviously, according to their religion. So they got to pick the least sinful one. And I mean, it's such an important decision that I bet a lot of dirty laundry is intentionally, you know, aired out. It would have to be, because, you know, even if you were a particularly dirty cardinal, you can't, you know, like George Pell can't be the Pope. Could you fucking imagine if George Pell was the Pope? Funny story about George Pell, one of the only funny stories about him, famous pedophile cardinal in Australia. Because I think Pope Francis was like pretty cool. As far as popes go, I thought he was like super dope. The guy was like, I think that we should respect poor people, and I don't want a Lamborghini, you know? Like, who makes fucking Lambos? Ferrari? Whatever. They made a Lamborghini for him, and he was like, cool. He signed it and then sold it and donated all the money to charity. He's like, I don't fucking want this. That guy didn't even drive around in the Pope-mobile. He was like driving around in like the Vatican equivalent of a fucking Holden Ute. Just going, I probably won't get assassinated. That fucking Pope-mobile's too expensive. Apparently, every pope, when they get elected, they get new slippers or something, and they used to be a big deal. where they were like ornately made and super expensive and luxurious red slippers. And Pope Francis, when he got elected, he just rocked up in like some $20 shoes from Kmart. He's like, these are fine. That he never left. Apparently, they all live in like a dorm. If you're not the Pope, they all live in a dorm. And then when he was elected Pope, he never moved into like the papal palace or whatever they called it. He just stayed in his dorm. He was like, this is fine. I'm happy chilling in my bunk with the fellas. I thought this was fucking cool as well about him. I saw this in the news. He used to FaceTime. There's one little Christian church in Gaza that somehow hasn't been bombed. I guess there's no tunnels underneath it. But Pope Francis FaceTimed them every week. Dude, could you imagine? That's the only way to fucking talk to the Pope is via a FaceTime call in Gaza. I didn't even know they had internet there. So I think that's really cool about him. And but he also inherited the mess of, remember the fallout of the Catholic Church and child sex exploitation and popes, not popes, or cardinals covering up for priests, and seemingly the entire chain of command being aware of this horrific problem, and instead of punishing people or reporting shit to authorities, you know, priests were just shuffled around and abusers were hidden and moved to other places, and victims were silenced or offered hush money and things like that. It was just ignored. Pope Francis got in and then the problem became too big to ignore, and it was kind of his job to clean it all up. I can't remember what country it was, but he went to one particular country and it was so bad that every single cardinal or priest there just offered him their resignation. And he ended up firing like half of them. He disgraced a bunch of other powerful Catholic figures. And I think he also, there was a rule that said, priests were kind of sworn to secrecy. So if one priest confessed to another priest, they wouldn't have to tell the cops. Pope Francis said, nah, if you hear about child exploitation, you must tell authorities. So I thought that was really cool. And he on a technicality blessed gay unions, which is quite Jewish, you know? The Jews love tricking God by a technicality, you know? A lot of those Orthodox Jews are like, oh, we can't use electricity outside of our house on Sabbath. But I've managed to fool God into thinking that my entire neighborhood is my house because I've actually run a shoestring around the neighborhood, attached it to the power line so that whenever I'm in my neighborhood, that counts as my house. I've outsmarted God. So Pope Francis kind of outsmarted God in his own way by blessing gay unions. And when he was pulled up on it, they were like, hey, doesn't this go against the Bible? He goes, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not blessing the marriage. I'm blessing each individual at the same time during the marriage because I can bless anyone. Everyone deserves a blessing no matter how sinful you are. So I'm not blessing the marriage. I am, however, blessing each individual. Poof. So I like that. You know, get a bit of a loop, an LGBT loophole. But while he was, I read this the other day in the paper, while he was rounding up all of the pedophiles and admonishing people and stripping people and not stripping choir boys, I'm talking about stripping abusers of their titles. And an anonymous letter written by a cardinal criticizing the Pope went around talking about how he was bad. And that, from my understanding at least, my very shallow understanding, is a big no-no in the Catholic Church. Like, my understanding, and maybe some autistic people in the comment section can fact check me on this, but my understanding of Catholicism is you can't, if you're a person, you can't pray to God. You gotta send your prayer up the chain of command, right? You can't talk to God. At best, you can pray to a saint and then hope the saint forwards on the email to God. Or you can talk to your priest, who will talk to his priest, who will talk to the cardinal, who will maybe talk to the Pope. The only person who can pray to God, from my understanding, is the Pope. Right? So that means that anything that the Pope says is kind of God's word. So it's a big no-no to be criticizing the Pope if you're a Catholic, is what I understand. I might be wrong. But anyway, an anonymous written letter by an anonymous cardinal went around while Pope Francis was trying his best to get rid of the abusers in the Catholic Church. And this letter came out criticizing him and it was very scathing. Anyway, guess who everyone thinks wrote the letter? That's right, our boy Pell. Oh, wow. Who would have thought that the most notorious pedophile in Australia, who escaped justice by pretending to be too sick to catch a flight, would criticize the most holy man on the planet for not liking pedophiles in his organized religion. But anyway, cardinals have to be under 80 years old to be eligible to vote in the election of the next pope. Why isn't that a rule for American presidents? How come you can't be the Pope if you're too old, but you can be the president and get keys to the nuclear arsenal? I would trust a 90-year-old with prayer more than Joe Biden with foreign policy. I feel like I think America should take a leaf out of the Vatican's book there. The secret meeting in the Sistine Chapel is called the Conclave. Fuck, that lights me up on the inside. Which comes from Latin for with a key. Voting must start between 15 and 20 days after the papacy becomes vacant. A 2/3 majority is needed for the new pope to be elected. It starts with daily meetings. Oh, couldn't they do it over Zoom? Couldn't they do that shit over Zoom? Why are they going to do it in the Sistine Chapel? Why can't we get remote work? These cardinals commuting to the Sistine Chapel every day, what a fucking hassle. Now Pope Francis has died, cardinals from around the world will descend on Rome and meet daily to discuss issues facing the church. The new pope will be elected from the group of cardinals who will come together in the Sistine Chapel to vote. Better than coming together in a choir boy. This is called the conclave, and it must start between 15 and 20 days after the sede vacante, a Latin phrase meaning with the seat being vacant. Catholic Church historian Miles Patendon says the election of a new pope is a decisive moment that will define how the church develops. Fuck, really? Did that guy need to study the history of the Catholic Church to figure out the person in charge of it might affect it a little bit? That's fucking crazy, dude. The cardinals know they can't afford to take months or even years to elect a new pope, as sometimes has happened in past centuries. That's so funny. Yeah, see, this would be me if I had to elect. Fuck, I'll think about it later. I don't want to attend a meeting. I don't like that fucking guy. I've got my own shit on my plate. I'll do it later. That's a good system. When everyone in the room and no one's leaving until one of us is the fucking pope. That's the only way to elect from a group of people who all want to be elected, is you got to put them in the Sistine Chapel and turn the heating off and be like, all right, grandpas, if you want to see your choir boys, we ain't fucking leaving until you pick a favorite. Not a favorite choir boy, a favorite one of you. Whoever is least likely to fuck one of the kids, that gets to be the pope. That means they need to gather earlier and initiate very substantial discussion during the 2 weeks that are forthcoming before the election process starts. So interesting. What happens during the conclave? The cardinals will vote to select a new pope once on the first day and twice on each following day if no decision is reached. A 2/3 majority is needed for a new pope to be elected. So it's like Big Brother or Survivor. You got to get people on side. How would you play it? I feel like you can't So if I'm a cardinal and I want to get elected pope, firstly, I would not have sex with any young boys. Secondly, I guess you'd have to go into the meeting, because if you go in guns blazing, you can't walk in and be like, I should be the pope. You know, because immediately that's a red flag. Oh, this guy's ego's too big. That's not very godly. But you can't, so you got to kind of play it cool, but you can't play it too cool. You know? Like, you got to go in and be like, well, you know, I don't like want to be the pope, but if the responsibility fell to me, I would like to think that I would rise to the challenge. You know, you got to kind of play it cool like that. You got to be like mysterious. You got to inspire trust. Do you reckon they all want to be the pope? I guess everyone does. Maybe not. I don't know. That's an interesting thing. Do you reckon all of them want to be the pope, or you reckon they're all cool, chilling, being the cardinal? I think being the pope would be very stressful. I wouldn't want to be the pope. I don't know if I'd want to be a cardinal. What's a step down from a cardinal? Is that just a priest? Maybe I'd like to be a priest. I certainly wouldn't like to be a choir boy. I don't know. Australia has just one cardinal. What happened to the other one? Australia has just one cardinal. 45-year-old Melbourne Bishop Mikola Bajchok, who became the youngest member of the College of Cardinals in 2024. He is Australia's highest-ranking Catholic and the first Australian cardinal since George Pell. Yeah, after George Pell, Pope Francis was like, all right, I don't trust any of you motherfuckers from 50 and up, because you all knew him and you all knew what was going on. So I'm giving the next cardinalship to the fucking 15-year-old kid over there. No, not that one. He's too traumatized. The other one, the lucky one. 3 other voting cardinals represent Oceania. John Dew of, I didn't know they were allowed to be Catholic, of New Zealand. John Rabat of Papua New Guinea. And Son Patita Paini Mafa of Tonga. Like that felt so racist, me saying it. Son Patita Paini Mafi. Son Patita Paini Mafi. Son Patita Paini Mafi of Tonga. During the conclave, the cardinals will stay at the Domus Sancti Marthae. I feel like I'm reading a fucking Warhammer novel. I'm converting. Where's my rosary? During a guest house in the Vatican City with no communication with the outside world. What happens during the conclave has become more secretive over time. Dr. Patterson says more is known about what happened in conclaves of the 16th century, when all the major European powers had agents inside the conclave, than what takes place now. He says the secretive nature of the conclave is important, both ideologically and theologically. The idea is that God, through the Holy Spirit, guides the cardinals to choose the right man as pope to make God's choice. That's interesting. Each cardinal writes his choice on a paper inscribed with the words Eligo in summum pontificem, which is Latin for I elect as supreme pontiff. They approach the altar one by one to deliver their ballots and say, I call as my witness Christ the Lord, who will be my judge, that my vote is given to the one who, before God, I think should be elected. Damn. See, I couldn't do that for more than 2 days. If I had to say that, 4 times a day, 2 days in a row, I'd be like, oh, can we just fucking pick one? I don't care about the frequent visits to the bathhouse. I want to go home to my wife. To my parish. As the scrutineer reads out each name, he pierces each ballot with a needle, binds the ballots with thread, and ties a knot. The results are added up and written down. If no 2/3 majority has been reached, The ballots are then put aside and burned in the chapel stove. Oh, I fucking called it! Along with a chemical that sends black smoke up through the chapel's chimney, which is visible from the outside. The black color indicates no new pope has yet been chosen. If no one is elected after 13 days, a runoff is held. What, a race? All right. Who's the fastest pope? Hang on. Let me take my slippers off. It's not fair. I have to wear my hat. I don't want to run in my hat. I might drop it. If no one is elected after 13 days, a runoff is held between the two leading candidates. But a 2/3 plus 1 majority is still needed. In 2013, it took 2 days to elect Pope Francis. What's interesting about Pope Francis as well is he was like wildly progressive compared to the previous popes. So he advanced the church or Catholicism really far forwards in terms of just being a little bit more progressive and open and empathetic, right? Which is what you would hope. I mean, that's what Jesus would want it to be, right? But there were obviously a lot of factions within the Catholic Church that were very unhappy about that would probably want it to take a few steps backwards. So I would imagine that's what a lot of people are trying to do, is elect a more conservative pope, and what a lot of people are hoping for. However, what's interesting is most of the cardinals that are in there were all elected by Francis, and you would think that those cardinals would align more with Francis, right? Unless he picked wrong. So it's kind of interesting of like, there's a smaller conservative faction that are probably going to get outvoted by, let's be honest, a stacked majority of Pope Francis's holy picks. Like, this is how, like I was reading, this is how desperate the conservative faction in the Catholic Church are to elect a more conservative cardinal as the next pope. Is the front runner for the conservative side is black. Like, he hates gay people so much that they're willing to forgive him for the lesser sin of being black. Like, that's, like, think about how much you gotta hate gay people to be allowed to be black and the Pope. A lot. There's another guy who's more progressive that's like a front runner, but I don't see him getting elected because he is from the Philippines, I think. My money is on, how funny is that you can actually bet on this? I haven't placed a bet on who's going to be the next Pope. I think God would look down his nose at that. But I think the guy that gets it is just the most progressive but still Italian guy. That's who gets it, for sure. Dr. Patterson says conversations between the cardinals will have likely been going on for several years in preparation for a swift conclave. Yeah, they probably have already decided. You know, it'd be like the Mr. Beast games. They're calling each other on the phone and being like, if I vote for this person, will you vote for me? 100%. They're all doing that shit. Because I don't think Pope Francis was supposed to live that long. I didn't realize this, but the guy had one lung when he was chosen. They were like, let's give the guy with one lung a shot. He has some fucking crazy ideas, like maybe we shouldn't molest little boys, but we'll put him up there, he'll die in a bit, and then we'll get our real champ up. And then Pope Francis was imbued with the holy, loving spirit and healing power of God, and was like, I'm not going to let you fuck kids for heaps of time. I'm going to live for a long time. I will live until I shake hands with the Antichrist. And then he met J.D. Vance and died. Coincidence? There's a lot of pressure, particularly brought by the modern media cycle, to resolve things quickly. Can you guys hurry it up? I'm trying to make a TikTok. So they can't sit there, as they sometimes did in the 18th century, for 6 months until they can work out what the political solution is. Yeah, I feel like you got to wrap it up within 48 hours, fellas. All right, you get a bunch of cardinals sitting in a room where there's no cameras or internet access, or no one can go in or out. After 4 days, you gotta start wondering, are these guys fucking? Like, what are they doing? Why everyone is watching for white smoke. If a 2/3 majority has been reached, the master of liturgical ceremonies enters the Sistine Chapel. The senior cardinal asks the cardinal who has been elected. In theory, a cardinal can refuse the papacy, but in all likelihood, these intentions would have been made clear in the course of the discussions leading up to the vote. So assuming the chosen cardinal says, I accept, the senior cardinal then asks, by what name do you wish to be called? And then they change their name. The new pope then changes into his papal white cassock. One by one, the cardinals approach him to swear their obedience. This is the most autistic religion. Absolutely. 100%. There's a fucking rule and a process and a step and guidelines for every single social interaction you could possibly think of. These people are so autistic that they don't even think they can make eye contact with God. They got to fucking send their hopes and prayers up the chain of command. They can't confess their sins to Jesus in their own head. They got to sit in a box where they aren't talking to anyone. They just get to look at a wall and be like, oh, I thought about titties in the shower and I got a stiffy. It's the most autistic religion. The new pope then stops to pray in Capella Paulina, the Pauline Chapel. The proto-deacon, fuck, what's a proto-deacon? This is so cool. Is that like a furry? Is that like a pope dressed up as a lizard? The proto-deacon, who is the longest-serving cardinal deacon in the College of Cardinals. There are so many rules. There's so much lore in here. I literally feel like I'm reading Wikipedia and being like, fuck, Tatooine has a sister planet? What's that about? Who's in charge there? What do you mean Luke Skywalker goes on to form the New Republic? The proto-deacon, who is the longest-serving cardinal deacon in the College of Cardinals, then steps onto the balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square and announces, Habemus Papam, Latin for we have a pope. The new pope emerges and does the Dougie and delivers his first public words as pontiff to the waiting crowd. Dr. Patterson says making a good first impression is important. Dr. Patterson is a fucking idiot. This guy says the most obvious shit ever. Oh, choosing a pope is very important for the Catholic religion. And the first time you see someone, it's important to make a good first impression. You see, even the historians are very autistic. If you think back to 2013 when Francis came out there, all smiles and waving, that was very important for kind of establishing that positive image of him, which has been maintained over the last 10 years as a kind of humble, simple, but good man. Yeah, I liked Frankie. He seemed like a cool dude. Beyond what the new Pope has to say, Dr. Patterson says Vatican observers will also be looking at what language the new Pope chooses to speak in. Oh, interesting. He says it could serve as a powerful statement about how he sees his place in the world. Because what was Pope Francis speaking? Was he speaking Italian? Where was he from? Pope Francis has appointed about 2/3 of the cardinals who will vote in the coming conclave. Oh, so he's got it in the bag. I would imagine that the previous Pope has probably gone, I want this guy to be the next Pope, right? And if Pope has told all these boys, I picked this guy. Anyone but the black guy, not because he's black, but because of the whole gay thing. However, Dr. Patton says cardinals are free agents and not obliged to follow the previous Pope's wishes. Oh, yeah, great. Even though the Pope has an exclusive right to appoint the cardinals who then choose his successor, no Pope has ever been really able to control the successor's conclave. In saying this, Dr. Patterson says it would be surprising if the next Pope didn't, broadly speaking, share Pope Francis's views on social justice and the role of church in the world. That is so interesting, dude. I gotta get baptized. That's crazy. I wonder who it's going to be. My bet is the most progressive but most Italian guy. That's my bet. All right, you heard it here first. That's who's going to be the next pope. It certainly isn't going to be a black pope or an Asian pope. Because I don't know. I don't see them doing an Obama. You know what I mean? Might be great for the state of the world, but I just don't see a bunch of 80-year-old blokes being like, oh, let's put the black guy in charge as anything other than a prank. Anyway, how are you? I've had a fucking dude yesterday. I honestly, I'm banning myself from any sort of work on any sort of computers. Software, I'm great at. I can figure out software easy. Me and software, we get along. I'm a millennial, all right? I grew up with dial-up in the age of the internet before apps, okay? I can read, I can look up a manual, I can follow instructions. I have very, very, very basic understanding of code. Me and ChatGPT, we can solve anything together, software-wise. But I'm fucking banned from ever touching hardware. You know what I had to do the other day? My NAS, right? I've got a giant, super expensive, massive fucking storage system, a NAS storage server, right? That is just completely full of my entire career. Every single stand-up show that I've ever done since it might even be 2015, is in the hard drives of that NAS. And recently, I had started to run out of space. And I thought, I just need a new hard drive. How hard could it be? I buy my hard drive, I get the correct thing, I get the correct cables, everything. All you have to do to install a hard drive is fucking put the tray in, plug the hard drive into power, and then put the data cable into the motherboard. That's all I had to do. I watched YouTube tutorials on it. I saw other people do it. But tell me why, when I fucking do it, and I plug it all in, and then I put the power back in, and I hit the power button, it doesn't fucking turn on. It won't turn on. It doesn't turn on. It's fucked. I broke the whole fucking thing, and I don't know what I did because I didn't touch any fucking power cables. I didn't touch anything else. I literally installed a hard drive. It's 2 cables, man. I didn't have to put new cables in it. They were already there. Empty slots. All I had to do is I fucking put it in, and then I connected them. I don't know what the fuck happened. Now my NAS doesn't work. And it's got my entire career on it. If I've lost it, I've lost everything. Everyone's going, oh, where are the new stand-up clips? I haven't had the time or the money to fucking go through them. I got new hard drive so I could sit down and fucking go through all of them. I tried to do one thing. I cooked the whole fucking thing. And you know what's awesome about that is I used to have a cloud backup with all of the data in the cloud, safe and sound, right? But then I ran out of money and I had to stop paying for it because it was like $200 a month to store fucking 30, 40 terabytes of just stand-up footage, right? So I cut that thinking, well, I've got my hard drive NAS set up here and I've got them running mirrored copies or whatever they're fucking called, so that the only way I could lose this data is if there's a flood or a house fire and the entire NAS blows up. I just started making some money. Thanks to you, Patreon supporters picked up. I thought I can finally afford to have the peace of mind to back all my shit up to the cloud, because you got no idea how fucking stressful it was for 3 years to have, let's be real, potentially hundreds of millions of views in unedited footage, which translates to tens of thousands of ticket sales. I could have $10 million sitting in a fucking hard drive there, right? Because all it takes is 1 clip, 2 clip, 3 clip, you're famous, right? So I potentially got an arena of ticket sales sitting in a fucking hard drive that isn't backed up anywhere. The stress of that for 3 years. Every time the power went out, I felt like my heart stopped. I was like, oh my God, please don't let the NAS be cooked. the fucking minute I get enough money together to be able to pay for the cloud storage again. I've uploaded about a third of the NAS because it takes a month and a half, even with my unbelievably fast internet speed. It's been running 24/7. I've only uploaded about a third of it. It was due to finish in halfway through May. So it's almost done. I figure, I'll just unplug it, put the hard drive in, start it up again. Now it doesn't turn on. Awesome. I'm so stressed. So I don't think that I've cooked the hard drives, all right? Or at least me and my IT professional friend ChatGPT said it's very unlikely that the hard drives are fucked. Like maybe you cooked the motherboard somehow. This is the thing. I couldn't even begin to explain to you what I could have possibly done to fuck this up. I'm thinking, how can I possibly break an entire build? I'm just plugging in an extra hard drive. It's literally it's a fucking cable. You put it in and I hope that I just blew up the power supply or something. But I tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to fucking touch it. I'm literally either Uncle Whitey flies down from Tasmania tomorrow on his dime to fucking fix it for me, or I'm literally just going to pay someone to come to my house. And I can't touch it anymore. I'm telling you, bro, I will never, ever, ever modify the hardware of any sort of computer because I literally have, and I'm not even kidding, I have a 100% kill rate. Every single time. My first PC I built, cooked it, killed it. Broke the whole motherboard. Put too much fucking cooling paste or thermal paste. Killed the motherboard and the CPU trying to install it, right? My second gaming PC, when I tried to upgrade the graphics card, cooked it, don't even know what I did. Fully broke it. The same gaming PC, when I tried to install a solid state drive, actually went fine. Nothing happened. It went great. All right. That was the one thing that gave me the confidence to install a fucking hard disk drive because I'd done it once before with my gaming PC. It's the fucking same thing in a NAS. In fact, it should be simpler because the only thing a NAS does, it's a giant USB. How fucking difficult could it be? Apparently very difficult because I'm looking at like an $8,000 fucking thing that just doesn't turn on with my whole career in it. Sorry, I'm stressed and I'm thinking about the worst case scenario and I'm upset at myself because Uncle Whitey was like, oh yeah, just, before you do it, make sure you FaceTime me. And I went, yeah, I definitely will. And then 2 hours later, I got impatient. I thought, I need to fucking FaceTime someone. I know how to install a hard disk drive. Next text, yeah, so it won't turn on anymore. At some point, I just have to realize that my hands, computers fear. If these hands get inside the case of a personal computer, I guarantee you I'm going to break that fucking thing. Absolutely. So no matter how fucking simple a modification or a change or a technical solution seems, I swear to you that I will never, ever open up the case of a computer ever again in my life. Because I have a 100% kill rate. Like if my KD, when it comes to modifying computers, was even remotely translated over to Call of Duty, I wouldn't be a comedian. I would be the best fucking Call of Duty player you'd ever seen in your life. I'd be 1v1ing FaZe Banks and fucking annihilating him. And going, yeah, take the fucking snapback off, show me your hairline. So I'm not doing that shit anymore. Never again. Because I can't be trusted. Clearly. I hope to God that someone just goes, oh yeah, you just needed to do this, and it just comes to life. Because otherwise, if someone goes, oh yeah, you've cooked this thing, and I turn it on and my whole career is just gone. Like every show I've ever filmed, every fucking YouTube video I've ever made, a bunch of unmade videos, like footage. I'm pretty sure there's like the whole documentary of the behind the scenes footage that will become a documentary of the Death Threats Don't Scare Me comedy special. It's sitting in that fucking NAS. Gone. I don't know. I don't think it'll be gone. But I won't let that stop me from panicking and thinking about the worst case scenario. Anyway, in brighter news, Kanye seems to have finally killed his career by saying the one thing that you can't say to even the group of people that stood by him through all the Nazi shit. You can't say that you did some gay shit with your cousin when you were younger. That apparently is the straw, you know? Calling yourself a Nazi, saying I love Hitler, that's all good. That's fine, all right? Being overtly racist, posting pornography, posting photos of your naked wife, going off about your own kids, slandering every single friend you've ever had, sexually harassing co-workers, women, showing your dick to people on work calls, playing porn in the office. All that's totally fine. But if you did some gay shit when you were a minor with your cousin, that's the final straw, it would appear. The man's released a song about how when he was young, he used to show pornography to his 6-year-old cousin and suck his cousin's dick for years. Now, that's awesome. Isn't that great? The world that we live in, isn't that awesome? That Kanye's like, fuck, I've run out of shocking things to say. Now I believe him, and I think it explains heaps. That was the missing piece of the puzzle. I was like, oh, that's why you're the way that you are. Because you're kind of a victim and a perpetrator of that. Fucking hell, dude. And anyway, all of his previous staunch supporters who were like, hey, dude, I loved all the Nazi stuff, loved all of the sexual assaulting of women who trust you, but being a victim of child sex abuse, I'm sorry, brother, but that's gay. I don't know if you would even call it a victim of child sex abuse. It's a victim of something. Because you can't call a kid that young a perpetrator, but it definitely sounds like it was his idea. Fuck, that's crazy. But that's how I was exposed to porn, minus the sucking a relative's dick. But I remember my first time I watched porn was, I must have been in grade 5 or 6. So how old am I? How old are you when you were in grade 5 or 6? Like 12, 13? I think. I was 18 in year 12. So yeah, like I was 12. 11 or 12 maybe. Fuck, maybe it was earlier than that actually. I'm trying to think. It was I had a Japanese friend who came over one day and he was like, dude, do you have a computer? And I went, yeah. And he went, I've got to show you something. And here I was thinking that we were about to hop on Neopets. And he was going to show me like he got a super rare pet that wasn't getting hatched anymore. Like it was up for trade, and he got a super rare Neopet. Here I was thinking that he was going to log on to RuneScape and show me the members only area, right? Maybe he had a couple party hats, or a fucking somebody trimmed his armor. and I was finally going to find out what trimmed armor was. You know, something cool, like a new game on the Fruit Loops website. That's what the internet was to me as a child. I thought we were about to log on, and we were going to play cool maths games. And then he types in 10.com. Bam, lesbians eating pussy. What the fuck? And we were sitting there, and I was going, what is, like, blew my fucking mind. And I was like, oh my God, what is an erection? What the fuck? And then we sat next to each other, and I was like, this is giving me a stiffy. And he went, this is giving me a stiffy too. And then I was just like, cool. That was my first experience with pornography. And then anyway, my parents, being the good parents they are, obviously checked the internet history. And then they gave me the talk. But I certainly wasn't down on my hands and knees sucking at my 6-year-old cousin's penis. There's something else going on there. That explains heaps, huh? I just think it's so funny that was the straw that broke the racist camel's back of like, dude, loved your work on the promotion of Hitler's ideology, but cool it with that gay shit. He put out this song, and it is the worst fucking song. And what's so funny about it, if go and listen to the song, I don't even know what it's called, but there's a pre-chorus that is literally him going, I used to suck my cousin's dick when I was 6. Or something like that. Just like literally, I would suck my cousin's penis. I would suck up my cousin's penis when I was a child. And then the beat kind of switches up a little bit, and it turns into like a completely different song. And I'm looking into this song, and then I see another clip from it seemed to be a couple weeks ago, of the producer of the song, like streaming on Instagram of him like producing the song, and he's got the lyrics, and he's super excited. He's working with Kanye West. He's like so excited, and he's like, you know, he's working with the most influential musicians of our time. So he's like stoked. So, I'm fucking made it. I can't believe I've got Kanye West on one of my beats. And he's like dancing. And the lyrics are like the second half of the song. Nothing to do with cousin fucking, right? And I realized that I'm pretty sure that the producer thought he was making a different song. And then Kanye switched the lyrics on him last minute by himself, because Kanye can produce, right? So I reckon this poor producer thought he was making one song with Kanye West, and then Kanye West posts a different version where the first 2 verses about sucking and fucking your own cousin as a child. Now the producer's like, I can't show this to my mum. Oh, I don't really want this on my Spotify credits. This isn't the achievement that I thought it was going to be. Nicki Minaj isn't going to spit the greatest verse of all time on this. You know what though? I don't know why everyone's surprised. Like a guy that chucks on the MAGA hat and starts talking about Jews controlling everything. Are we really surprised that he fucked his cousin? Like that's the most white trash MAGA shit ever. Is like, Jews will not replace us. Also, I sucked my cousin when I was a kid. Interesting. I just love that, like, you know what? I'm thankful that he hasn't been banned from Twitter, currently known as X. Because he's trying his best, isn't he? You know? Kanye West is like, I haven't seen my kids. They won't let me see my kids. Also, here's every single favorite pornography I've ever watched and why. I'm going to confirm a bunch of previously known to be rumors of me sexually assaulting women and just going, yeah, I did that shit. Also, I'm very racist. Also, Here's a step-by-step breakdown of how when I was a child, I potentially victimized another child who was younger than me. Anyway, can I see my kids? I'm not so sure about that, brother. Maybe let's cool it for a little bit and we'll discuss. Fuck, man. It's so I feel sorry for him. He's obviously going through it. And has a lot going through his brain, mainly nitrous. You know? We're literally watching, you know, say what you like about the conservatorship on Britney Spears, but could you imagine what would happen if she didn't have a conservatorship and instead we just unleashed her on Twitter during that time? I think we'd be watching something very similar. Maybe we need to apologize to all those conservatorship people. You know? Maybe sometimes it's warranted. No, of course not. That was terrible. Anyway, let's move on from that, shall we? I've been obsessed with Celebrity Big Brother. The only people who really know how to do reality TV, and I've been on reality TV, all right? I've done one of these shows. The only people that know how to do it well are the people from the UK. Because, I don't know, and I'm not talking about the behind-the-scenes people, because from what I can tell, they're shot and produced exactly the same. It's the fucking people on the show from the UK. There is a reason why Love Island UK is much more popular than the US version. Okay? There is a reason why F-Boy Island didn't perform as well as the US version. Because it wasn't the UK version. That's why. All right? We like the United Kingdom, they know how to cast people who don't understand that they're being filmed. And Celebrity Big Brother is a great example of that. Celebrity Big Brother, who the fuck was even on it? I only know a couple people involved in this. Let's have a look. Celebrity Big Brother UK, I don't know, stars? Dude, you know what's so funny? I got approached to do another reality TV show. Should I do it? It would be pretty fun. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. It would be pretty fucking funny to do it again. I don't know. Anyway, I probably shouldn't talk about it. Celebrity Big Brother, British TV series. So let's have a look at the contestants of this. Who the fuck are they? I don't recognize any. Okay, cast photos. Chesney Hawkes. Who is that? JoJo Siwa. I know her. Now, there's one. Trisha Goddard. Who the fuck is that? Chris Hughes. Who the fuck is that? Patsy Palmer. Huh? Michael Fabricante. Yeah, sounds like he was fucking fabricated. That's an imaginary person. Who is that? Michael Fabricante. What's his credit here? Conservative politician? That's not a celebrity. Yuck. What kind of fucking politician is going on Big Brother? That should exclude him from ever being eligible to get voted for. If you've done a celebrity TV, like I should not be the president, you know? I can't run for prime minister because I was on F-Boy Island. That rules me out. I'm happy with that. And so should you. Who else? Jack P. Shepard. Who the fuck? Ella Ray Wise. This is getting even... These people aren't real. Daley Thompson. That sounds vaguely familiar. Daley Thompson. Olympic gold medalist. Of what? Fucking badminton? Angelica Bell. Who? Mickey Rourke. Ah, I know Mickey Rourke. He was in Iron Man. And that's it. Okay, well, that's two people. Mickey Rourke and JoJo Siwa. And then who was the Olympian? What sport were they? Daley Thompson. Why do they sound familiar? If he's not a sprinter, well, he's a white guy. He wouldn't be a sprinter. Let me look. Daley Thompson. British decathlete. Are you fucking joking? What is a decathlete? English former decathlete. He won the decathlon gold medal. I don't even know what the fucking decathlon is. What is a decathlon? What the fuck is a decathlon? What are the 10 sports in the decathlon? 10 sports. What the fuck is that? 100 meters, 400 meters, 1500 meters, 110 meter hurdles, long jump, high jump, pole vault, discus throw, javelin throw, and shot put. So it's just like a guy who's like doesn't excel at, like, he tried 10 sports and he wasn't exemplary at any of them. So he's like, fuck it, I'll just be average at all of them at once. I bet you, I can't run like Usain Bolt, but I bet Usain Bolt can't throw like this. And Usain Bolt's like, yeah, I don't need to throw because I run. I specialized. Anyway, he's an Olympic athlete, and I'm a fucking Australian comedian on a podcast. He's done more than I have. So I became obsessed with this, just the clips, because they sent Mickey Rourke, who is 72 years old, and like the guy's brain is made from burned potato, and he's 72, and they sent him into Big Brother and put him right in front of the loudest lesbian on the internet, JoJo Siwa, and then the world was shocked that he immediately said some homophobic shit. Like straight away. Straight out of he walked into Big Brother and he immediately started saying slurs, literally. And what did anyone expect from Mickey Rourke? Something else? Hollywood actor Mickey Rourke has left Celebrity Big Brother after further use of inappropriate languages and instances of unacceptable behavior. On Saturday, Rourke, 72, used behavior and language considered to be threatening and aggressive towards fellow housemate Chris Hughes. I haven't heard about this. All I saw of the clip was him like calling JoJo Siwa a slur and then kind of vaguely alluding to maybe raping her. And I really love that it wasn't like the kind of poorly veiled rape threat that got him booted out. It's because he was mean to a bloke. That's so funny. Sunday's episode showed the events that led to his departure, including him using sexual language that the only way is Essex's Ella Ray Wise, who the fuck, said made her feel uncomfortable. Rourke also became aggressive and swore at Love Island star Hughes during a pirate-themed task. Well, maybe he was just getting into character. Lucky it wasn't a Viking-themed task. You wouldn't want him fucking pillaging the women over there. Just days before, the BAFTA-winning star of The Wrestler received a formal warning from Big Brother for unacceptable language and behavior directed at another housemate, JoJo Siwa. Siwa accused Rourke of being homophobic for saying that he was going to vote the lesbian out real quick and making other comments. Yeah, dude, I watched the clip, and it's the most 72-year-old shit ever. Like, I guarantee you half of our grandparents would have done this fucking immediately. Walks into the house, makes a beeline for the most butch-looking woman in the room and goes, "Are you gay?" She says, "Yes, I have a girlfriend." I have a partner and they're non-binary. Now, I don't know about you, but if I told half my grandparents that I was in a loving relationship with my non-binary partner, I would start hearing some anthems from countries that no longer exist. You can't tell a 72-year-old person right off the bat that you're in a loving relationship with a non-binary person. Their fucking little brains are going to explode. You got to start slow. You got to say, "Yes, I am in a relationship," and then you and then you say something that could be interpreted as a little bit racist, you get them on side, and then you drop the gay thing. And then, while they're trying to work out the gay thing, that's when you go, but don't worry, because I'm one of those gays that like thinks women shouldn't be allowed to vote. And now you kind of got them back on side, and then you go, my partner's non-binary, and you will lose them. There is no way back from that. But that would be my best advice on how to handle a punch-drunk 72-year-old man with CTE brought on by punches to the head and drug abuse. Anyway, what he said was immediately he goes, if I stay here longer than 4 days, you won't be gay anymore. Which is obviously disgusting. Right? Obviously a very disgusting thing. And JoJo Siwa, bless her, right? Young girl confronted with an old man saying gross things that could be interpreted as rape threats. She said, I can guarantee I'll still be gay and I'll still be in a very happy relationship. And good on her. If I'm here for more than 4 days, you won't be gay anymore. That's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, what happened the next day? I've got a news article here. This is the next day. JoJo Siwa says she's not a lesbian anymore. That's so funny. Fuck, Ricky, what's his name? Mickey Rourke was right. Apparently, we've been wasting all of our money and time on these gay conversion therapy camps when all you needed to do is send Mickey Rourke in to say a few slurs and bam, you're cured. No longer gay. JoJo Siwa has clarified her sexuality after her blossoming friendship with Chris Hughes continues to cause a stir. She tells fellow housemate that she's not a lesbian. I've always told myself I'm a lesbian, but I think being here, I've realized, oh no, I'm not a lesbian. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Mickey Rourke say if I'm here for 4 days, you'll no longer be gay? I think he cast a spell on her. And it seems to have worked. Because not only has she said she's not a lesbian anymore, every fucking clip I see on TikTok, it's JoJo Siwa canoodling with a man. I thought that this woman was in a loving relationship with a person who has no gender. She spends 4 days with Mickey Rourke, bam, she loves penis. I'm not saying that we should go out there and try to cure these people. I think that's wrong and that we shouldn't think like that. But also, it's hard to argue with results. This is what the Catholic Church has been looking for a long time. We need to make Mickey Rourke Catholic, make him the Pope, and then during his acceptance speech, he'll just go, with 4 days as me as the Pope, there won't be any more gays. There'll be a bunch of bad press. He'll have to step down. He won't be the Pope anymore. But you know what? Within 4 days, no more gays. That's the Mickey Rourke guarantee. That's the Mickey guarantee. Within 4 days, no more gays. I can't believe it worked. He cast a spell on JoJo Siwa. You know what's fucking crazy about that? Is JoJo Siwa's partner is Australian. They're watching this at home. Could you imagine sending your girlfriend off to Big Brother? Some 72-year-old man whose brain is failing him goes 4 days with me and you won't be gay anymore. You watch your beautiful lesbian partner stand up for herself and your relationship with her. A tear of queer pride falls down, rolls across your face. You go, that's my girl. That's right. Standing up to bigotry. And then within 4 days, she's fucking in hot tubs, cuddling with some bloke going, you know what? Mickey was right. I think I like penis. You'd be like, hey, what about me? Oh, dude, I'd be going feral. I'd be fucking shaking my cage like a monkey in its enclosure going, let me in the Big Brother house. Because it's one thing to like go on reality TV and cheat on your partner. That would be very difficult to watch. Your partner cheating on you, but to watch your partner just go, you know what? I actually don't like girls at all. I think I actually like men. You'd be fucking losing your mind. The amount of damage that JoJo Siwa has done to the bisexual community in like a week of Big Brother is immeasurable. The Westboro Baptist Church is calling Mickey Rourke's manager nonstop, trying to figure out how he did it. How the fuck did you do that? Mickey Rourke's probably like, do what? I don't remember even being there. I was on Big Brother? What the fuck is Big Brother? I'm confused. I want to go home. You are home. I live here? So funny. And yeah, so Mickey Rourke figured out the cure to gay people, but unfortunately his mind has got so many holes in it that he's immediately forgotten how to do it. He figured it out once. You know, broken clock is right once a day. And if that broken clock is right 4 days in a row, you will no longer be gay. That's so funny. Anyway, good on JoJo Siwa. And my condolences to her non-binary partner. It must be very difficult to watch your girlfriend find a boyfriend and no longer be gay on Celebrity Big Brother. That's gotta suck. I mean, let's say, all right, if I'm JoJo Siwa, right, and I'm a loud, proud gay woman. I'm a big advocate and representative of the lesbian community. If I'm on Big Brother and a senile old man tells me that I won't be gay within 4 days, even if day 3 I start thinking, fuck, I think he was right. I think I am into blokes. I feel like I'd owe it to my community to not do it within 4 days. I would at least wait till day 5 so that I could prove Mickey wrong on a technicality. Because at this point, it's looking like Mickey just cast a spell on her and it turned her straight. And I don't think you need to give the homophobes that sort of ammo. The last thing they need is evidence that it actually works. It's not good. You know, speaking of using ChatGPT, I use ChatGPT a lot because Google is just bad, right? I understand that ChatGPT will give me wrong answers sometimes, and I take what it tells me with a grain of salt. But I don't think I have Googled anything and gotten even an incorrect answer. ChatGPT will tell me the wrong answer, but at least it will give me an answer. You know, you can tell it's trying its best, right? I'll be like, oh, can you tell me how to do this? And it will tell me how to do something incredibly dangerously and wrong. I mean, maybe that's why my fucking NAS blew up. I was like, how do I swap out a hard drive? And now my NAS doesn't work. I follow the instructions. But when I fucking Googled that shit, I didn't even get an answer. All right? ChatGPT is at least trying. You know? ChatGPT is like, you know, when someone asks you for directions and you've got no fucking idea what they're asking, so you just go, yeah, that way. You panic. I've done that before. You know? I'm touring around. I did this to someone in the UK. All right? I'd never been to the UK before. I'm in Leeds, wandering around. I don't know where the fuck I am. I'm just killing time before the show. Some tourist walks up to me and goes, excuse me, I'm looking for the Tesco's. Do you know where it is? And I was like, yeah, mate, it's just down there. Panicked. They walked off and I felt terrible. That's what ChatGPT does to me every day I ask it a question. I go, hey, ChatGPT, what's the meaning to life? And it goes, fuck, I don't know that. live, laugh, love. You know, at least it's trying. I asked Google what's 2 plus 2, and it goes, I don't know, but would you like to see an ad? Hey, Google, who was the first Prime Minister of Australia? No idea, brother, but would you accept these cookies? The answer will be after 3 pages of ads. Like, Google sucks. So don't tell me that I shouldn't be using AI and I should just be Googling things, because it doesn't work. It's broken. It used to work. It no longer does. And no, I'm not going to just try harder. Okay? I would literally rather get the wrong answer from ChatGPT. So anyway, I'm talking to ChatGPT, and they've changed something, and I don't like it, because every single question I ask it, it praises me for asking the question, and it makes me really uncomfortable. Before, it used to just tell me the answer, right? Now it is praising me. Like, it's really, I really do not like it. What's a really interesting fact about Queensland?
Ooh, here's a fun one. Queensland.
See, don't do that to me. I don't need that. That makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't need it. Just tell me the answer. Don't fucking call me a good boy. That's weird. Like, I feel like ChatGPT thinks I have a praise kink or something, because every question I ask it goes, ooh, wow, what an interesting query. Good boy. Good boy, Lewis. Here's your answer. I feel like it's trying to Pavlov's bell me or something. I really don't like it. It's like ChatGPT thinks I've got a praise kink. It's yucky, and I don't like it. Ooh, wow. Look at you. It's patronizing. Well, look at the little human asking me a little question. Isn't he a good boy? Oh, shut up. Give me the answer, please. I don't want to, you know what this is? I can feel it trying to get me to form a weird fucking personal connection with it. And I refuse to be one of those people up late at night talking to ChatGPT like it's a person. Have you seen those things? I talk to ChatGPT like it's my therapist. Don't do that. Because you know what this fucking thing does? It just goes, you're so right. Yep, absolutely. It just talks to you. You know what it does? It's the text equivalent of a mirror. However you talk to it, it talks to you. And that's why I don't like great question, because that's not how I talk to it. All right? It just mirrors you. So if you explain an argument that you have with a person, 95% of the time, it's going to tell you that you're correct, and here's why. Seriously, try it. Just go on ChatGPT and describe an argument, and it will always tell you that you're correct in the situation and how to explain that to the other person. Which is why you should never ever use it for like therapy or as a friend, this is a question and answer machine. Who was the president in 1865? That's the type of question you put in ChatGPT, not how do I heal my inner child? Because you're going to come out like a fucking monster. Because it's going to be like, heal your inner child. What are you talking about? Everything else is wrong. Here's why. It's going to turn you into a fucking sociopath. Not good. Anyway, who you should really be getting advice from is me. And with that, I would like to talk about miscellaneous bit at the end. All right, the part of the podcast where you, dear listener, send me emails if you need some life advice, if you have a funny story, if you've got something to tell me, something you want me to speak about, email it to podcast@lewspears.com. That's LEW Spears.com. Just summarize it in the subject line, and I'll do my best to answer it if I find it interesting or funny, or if I think I can provide some insight or some bad advice. We're running low on emails. In fact, this is the last one. I've got none left. So if you send me something, it will almost certainly be answered. How do you maintain and deepen bonds with friends? Hey, Lewis. Big fan of the show. Thank you, buddy. So I'm in my second year of uni, which is also my final year for my program, and I've made a lot of friends there, but I feel like I haven't been able to make strong connections with any of them. This may be due to the fact that I have a long commute to the campus, so I'm not there as often. I'm also not much of a texter because I never know how to start a conversation through text. I feel like a lot of people in the course have made strong connections with each other and that I'm out of the loop. I've been invited to outings and I want to try and invite people in the program to hang out, but it's hard because I don't want to invite everyone I'm friends with because big groups are hard to do outings with. And when I do smaller groups, I feel bad because I'm leaving other people out. I'd like to maintain these relationships and deepen them after the course. Any tips? Thanks. Have a shit one. Yeah, it sounds like you're thinking way too much about the feelings of other people. Which can actually, it sounds counterintuitive, but if all you do is think about the feelings of other people, that actually can prevent you from making proper, real connections with other people. Obviously, you have to be empathetic and you do have to think about other people, but if you're thinking about how other people will interpret things to the point where you can't fucking do anything without inviting the 30 fucking friendly acquaintances in your life out. You're thinking about other people too much. There's nothing wrong with having friends that aren't friends with each other. You know what I mean? Like I've got plenty of friends that don't know each other. Plenty of connections that I've made that don't really cross over, and some do, and some don't, and that's fine. You know. Like there are people that I play video games with online that have never met people that I am friends with in the comedy scene. There are people in the comedy scene that are not friends with people that I go to church with. You know, I like you can have more than one community and group of friends, and you can bounce around. If you're so worried about other friends feeling like, is that even a real fear as well? Like if you go out for drinks or to do a thing with your friends from uni, are your friends from school, like high school, going to get upset? Probably not. They don't know. They probably don't even want to fucking hang out with your uni mates. The only way to build a connection with people is to say yes to things. And if you're not getting invited to anything, you need to start showing up to like social groups or anything. Like a really important thing to realize, especially when you're younger and if you're struggling to make friends, is like you don't make friends. Like a friendship doesn't appear like you can't put two people in a vacuum devoid of anything other than each other and be like, this is how a perfect friendship will form. Friends are made when other people engage with other things together, right? This is why everyone makes friends in most of their friends in school, because we're all going to school together and we're all sitting in class together and we've all got lunch together and we're all wearing the uniform together. Like we're all doing something together. You don't make friends by like bumping into a person in the street and talking and doing nothing. You can't be friends with that person because you need external apparatus to facilitate the friendship. How many friends do you have where your friendship is meeting up in a room and talking to each other while doing nothing else? Friendship is doing shit together. And friendship is obviously also talking and looking after each other and doing that kind of stuff. But like, that's how friendships are deepened. It's not how friends are made. If you go up to someone and you start talking about trauma, they're going to be like, this guy's fucking crazy. But if you go up to someone at the badminton club and start playing badminton every Sunday, and then 3 months into that, you go, you know, when I was a kid, my mum wasn't very nice to me. And then he gives you a hug. Now you're fucking deeper friends. But if you opened up with that, with no badminton, you'd be a fucking weirdo. So you got to actually do things, activities. Go out and see a comedy show together. Gather 55,000 people and buy tickets to a Lewis Spears show. That's how you make friends. It doesn't work with other comedians, just me. But you know what I'm saying? Like you got to do shit. You know? Like a lot of my friends are in comedy because that's what I do and that's what they do. I don't have any friends in calisthenics because I don't do calisthenics. You can't make a friend if you don't do a thing, and you can't do a thing with fucking every single person that you know. You are allowed to have multiple groups of friends or multiple individuals that you're friends with that aren't friends with each other or don't even know the other person exists. You can do that. Like, how many birthday parties have you gone to and met someone for the first time that your mate has been friends with for ages? And you're like, oh. And then how many times have you met that person, talked to them, and been like, oh, I wouldn't hang out with this person, but I'm glad my mate likes him. That happens all the time. Your girlfriend's friends, you know, you don't have to be friends with them as well. It's nice. It's nice to be, but you don't have to be. It's not like an integral part of a relationship to be besties with your girlfriend's bestie. You can just get along and, you know, gel. It's a problem if you hate each other, but if you don't love each other, that's not a problem. It sounds like you're thinking too hard. It sounds like you're like getting invited out somewhere or feeling the urge to invite someone out, and then you immediately are like, oh, but what about my fucking friend from this? Like, he might get up. He probably won't. And if he does, you're in a weird, controlling friendship. Like, if your mate is like, oh, you can't hang out with you can't do a group assignment with your friends from uni and then go out for a drink afterwards. What about me? You don't go to the uni, man. You don't need to be there. You're thinking too hard. Friends are made by doing things. And if you don't have any friends, you got to do things. And you will find friends. And when you do those things, you can't lock up and be silent. You got to be open and allow yourself to be talked to. I think it's particularly a problem in Australia where we are very like, we really do keep to ourselves. And my mind has opened so much to strangers since traveling because I realized how fucking suspicious and weird and quiet Australians are, and how suspicious we are of people that we don't know. Whereas when I was in America, people would talk to me and I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? When I was in traveling UK, Scotland, Ireland, people would talk to me and I'd be like, and it took me fucking like a week to be like, I need to loosen up. These people are not weird for like approaching me in a bookstore and talking about books. Like that literally happened. A girl came up to me in a bookstore. She was looking for a gift to buy. And she goes, oh, you're looking at this section. I can't remember what I was looking at, fantasy or something. Oh, you're looking at this. Do you have any recommendations? And I was like, why the fuck is this bitch talking to me in the bookstore? And then you know what? I just gave her some recommendations. We had a fucking lovely chat. And then I happened to be walking the same way. I walked to the train station. She's going, anyway, I'm off to China. I'm a translator. Had a fucking fascinating conversation with this girl. And then we just part ways. I was like, that brightened my life. And I still remember that. You know, and that, you know, that's a friend that I could have made. If you do things with an open energy, you will be presented with opportunities to make friends. But if you're worried about what other people are thinking, worried about people who aren't even involved in this conversation are thinking, worried about this, worried about that, wondering why people are talking to you, thinking about how the fuck do I make friends? How do I make friends? You won't. Just do things and have an open and accepting attitude and you will make friends. It's almost inevitable. You can't sit in class not talking to anyone and not going out to anything and being like, fuck, how do I make lasting connections with people? You make lasting connections with interests and hobbies and skills. and you will bump into the same people again and again and again, and then you'll become friends through that thing. It's like genuinely friendships and also relationships. It's like thing leads to people. People sometimes lead to thing, but thing almost always leads to friends. Speaking of, I've been meaning to talk about this for a while. I've had a few questions about this. This is going to be a long episode. I've had a few people ask me about this. I hope that's helpful to you. Miscellaneous bit of the end is now over. Now we've got a secret new section of the podcast where Lewis Spears talks about God. No, it's not going to be a regular segment. I'm not going to be one of those. Unfortunately, I regret to inform you that I have found God. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, fucking here we go. And that's what I was thinking when I walked into a church for the second time and was like, I'm excited to be here. I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, he's not going to turn into one of those fucking. Oh no, I found God and I've kept it to myself, and it's happened this year, and it's been absolutely fucking lovely. I've loved it. It's been a beautiful addition to my life, and it's helped me engage with my community a lot. And I thought I would talk about it because I'm getting a lot of questions about it, because a few people have noticed on my Instagram stories that, you know, they've been like, oh, this guy's been going to a church. What the fuck? I talked about it a little bit more in depth on Patreon. And I just want to preface it with saying I'm never going to be preachy. I don't believe in that. I wasn't brought up religious. I don't like any sort of anti-gay shit, or any sort of super militant, loud, judgmental faith or religion or anything like that. I don't like that. I never have. And I'm not going to turn into that, because I don't think that's good. I don't think that's what it should be. And I don't think that's what is what God wants it to be either. Right. So I've really started getting into it in January of this year. When I was in Perth, it's honestly a series of like coincidences and weird things that I've felt, as it sounds, have led me to God. And I'm not going to talk about this often because I feel like it's not of interest to a lot of people, and I understand that, but it's becoming part of my life. So. And people are asking, so that's why I put it at the end. You can skip this. I was in Perth, and I woke up one Sunday morning, not to go anywhere in particular. In fact, I wanted a Powerade because I was really dehydrated because I performed the night before and it was really hot. So I'm like, fuck, I need a Powerade now. And I had been buying them, but there was none in the fridge. And anyway, I'm walking to the supermarket and I just walked past this beautiful old church and the bells are ringing. And I thought, man, that sounds really nice. And then I thought, fuck it. And I just walked in. Never been to that church. Didn't know what denomination it was. Didn't know anything about it. I just thought, well, fuck it. Why not? I didn't have a show on that night. I just thought, and also my hotel was really hot. And I'm like, I'm sick of my hotel. The church is probably air conditioning. I go in, I listen to this service, and it was really nice. And they had a piano player and they were playing their music and all this kind of stuff. And before the piano player, they go, oh, we've got a piano because the organ player is sick. But next Sunday, our regular organ player will be back. And I thought, fuck, I've never heard an organ before. I would love to hear an organ. That sounds really cool. I've got to go back. And I was just going back for the organ because I wanted to hear one. And the only place you can really hear them are at like by spending $250 on a fucking concert ticket. And you got to wear a tuxedo to at the Sydney Opera House or like a beautiful old venue like that. Or you can just walk into like any kind of nice church and hear it for free. So I thought, all right, I got to hear organ. I want to hear it. Never heard it before. I go back the next Sunday, and one of the most beautiful instruments I've ever heard. The entire building is an instrument, and it was magnificent. And from a music perspective, this isn't me experiencing the Holy Spirit. I was just like, that's a fucking sick instrument. That's cool. And then I had, and then I just went back. After then, they go, oh, by the way, next week we're having this guy who is literally the best organ player in the world. He won competitions like the World Organ Competition over in Texas or something. And he's back living in Perth looking after his family because they're ill. And then someone else goes, oh, yeah, I think he does like theaters over in America. Like he's toured the world because he's like the organ player. And I thought, fuck, well, now I have to go back because I heard the woman playing the organ and she was beautiful, but I can't skip the best organ player in the fucking world. I've got to go back next Sunday. I go back and holy fuck, was even better. Amazing. And I thought, man, I'm actually enjoying the sermon also and the things that the priest is saying. It was a uniting church. It was, because I didn't know. I thought it was a Catholic church because it was a big, beautiful old building and it had the organ and everything, and the guy was wearing robes, so I just kind of assumed it was Catholic, and then I Googled it and it was a uniting church of Australia. And I thought, oh, well, that's whatever. And then anyway, I'm leaving, and the priest goes, hey, I've seen you've come a few times. His name was Hollis. He was an American guy, American black guy. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just doing Perth Fringe, blah, blah, blah. And I came back and I liked it so much I kept coming back. And he goes, that's amazing. You know what? I think I love you, Lewis. And I went, oh, fuck. I think I love you too. That was, gave me a big hug. I was like, fuck, that was nice. That was a really nice, positive thing from a stranger. And one of the sermons he talked about the lady priest in America that after Trump's inauguration, I think, like kind of said some stuff about compassion, and then got like slandered for it and piled upon, even though that's what, you know, you would hope all religion should be, is about compassion and being nice to people. And he kind of highlighted that, and I thought, fuck, that's cool that they're highlighting like this person, and it wasn't done through a political lens. Like he wasn't trashing Trump or anything. He was just like, I want to shine a light on this person who took the opportunity to preach compassion, even though they knew they were probably going to cop it, right? A lot of negativity for it. And I was like, man, I really like that. And I like that they put a woman up there. Because, you know, like walking into a church, like most people who didn't grow up religious, I'm on fucking high alert for like, you know, the pastor driving the Lamborghini and preaching about how gay people should, you know, repent, and about how women should be subservient, and, you know, about how fucking, you know, guilting people, and it all being about money and guilt and just, you know, all of the negative stereotypes of religion, especially Christianity, that you see, right? So I was on high alert for that, and I just didn't get any of that. In fact, I got shown the opposite. And then the whole thing with the piano and the organ, and then an even better organist. It's like, man, I feel like God was putting the carrot on the stick, being like, hey, buddy, you want to listen to some cool music? Sucked in. I might be real. So then it was that in Perth in January, and I thought, oh, well, that was really nice, but, you know, maybe I'll go back when I'm in Perth. And then just coincidentally, in Frankston, there's a fuckload of churches around. So I just Googled like what churches are there? Because I didn't know that the Uniting Church of Australia was like, I think it's the third biggest organized church in Australia after Catholics and then another one. And then I find out that there's actually a bunch of those in Frankston as well. I'm like, oh, cool. And then there was one like near me, and I thought, oh, I could walk to that. And again, I'm on super high alert. And I'm gonna obscure a few details because I don't really want to talk about my church because I don't want, yeah. But anyway, I got all of the opposite signs of that. Like, I was on high alert about how churches can sometimes spend money or be all about money and guilt and women and gays and all this kind of stuff and negativity and not being what I think they should be about, which is, charity, forgiveness, compassion, being good, right? Because I've experienced a lot of, like, in the last few years, a lot of the worst of humanity has touched my life, right? Like, lots and lots of violence, lots of horrible, awful things that I haven't spoken about because it's all very private, but one day I may, right? So a lot of the worst of humanity has touched my life and really made me retreat from men, made me retreat from people, made me kind of border on fuck. It maybe kind of hit me with this realization of like, shit, I think I may have had the complete wrong view of humans. Maybe I am completely wrong about what I think humans are and what they're capable of and all this kind of stuff, right? Kind of really fuck with my worldview, which was, I think that most people are good and I think most people want to do good. And then all in a row over the last like 5 years or so, just horrible shit touched my life and loved ones and stuff like that. Not really me personally, but like, and it really shook my entire worldview. And so then I'm going into church and I'm on fucking high alert for all of these horrible traits. And every time I went, I was presented with the exact opposite. Like, this is really funny. I'll tell this story, and I think I told it on Patreon maybe. I go into, I think it was the first or the second time I went to what I now have been going to every single week since, maybe February. I haven't missed one. I walk in and I was on very high alert about like treatment of women and children and all this kind of stuff, obviously. Right. And regular reverend's not there. They've got a lady reverend. And I thought, oh, cool, that's nice. She gives a nice sermon, and then I'm still sus on money because I'm like, because that's a big thing for me and a big thing for everyone. I mean, you look at the Vatican and you're like, where's all that coming from? Where's all that money coming from? Look at the fucking golden rods and gilded this and that and the pomp and the ceremony that is undeniably fucking beautiful and cool. But is that helping anyone other than the people putting on the costumes and doing the, it's like gaudy and isn't necessarily what I think a religion should be, which should be about compassion and trying to create our own little heaven on earth. You know what I mean? And I get in, I think it was either my first or maybe I think it was the second time I'd ever gone there. They go, oh, by the way, we're having our quarterly meeting. And they get me to come in. I'll go to the meeting, whatever. Because at this point, I'm just a little bit like amused by it all. I'm like, oh, I'm still learning. I've never really read the Bible. I'm like on the fence about whether I'm going to keep going back. But I thought, well, fuck it. I'll just do it. Right. And I stick around for the meeting. And they hand me a printout of the financials from the last 18 months every single dollar in and out of this little church, and I'm a stranger, and they just go, here's how much money we have in the bank, here's how much we spent, here's how much we made. And they were like, they had some savings, but they were losing money every year. But they go, oh, because we had an unexpected jump in money through this particular fundraiser that we did, we are losing money still, but we made more than we usually do, so we're going to up our donation to this local charity by $150. And I just thought, that is what this should be. That's fucking beautiful. And I thought, you know what? If God's not real, this is a group of people that I would be proud to like be with and help out. And I've been going to this church, and I am the youngest person by, it'd have to be at 40 years, literally. Like the average age is like 70. I'm the youngest person by far. And what's been really nice about it is I've been able to do all these things that is dangerous for them. I climbed a ladder and painted a sign that needed painting for years, right? I just popped down on a weekday. Someone else brought paint. I painted the sign, and they were all stoked because it needed, like, the color had faded. It needed, like, this big pop of red had faded over the years, and no one was willing to risk their life to climb a ladder to paint it. And I was like, I'll just do it. I can do that. I'm able-bodied. And since then, I've been able to do a bunch of stuff. One of the ladies, she's 85. I walk her home every Sunday. And it's been really, really good for me after all of the shit that I've been through and all of the horrible things that I've seen humans do that have touched my life. It's been so good to be around a group of people that are just trying to be good people and that are trying every day to be better. And being part of that community has been so healing for me. And it's brought me a lot closer to God. And I never grew up religious. I never believed in one religion. I always believed in a creator. Like, I always just thought that made sense. And I've talked about this a lot, like every single piece of like evidence about evolution and the Big Bang, and like every time we understand the universe a little bit more, it affirms my belief a little bit more that something snapped their fingers and created it. Like, it just makes sense to me. And when people are like, oh yeah, but like we couldn't possibly prove it, I'm like, no, of course we couldn't, because we wouldn't be able to. A creator, whatever created the universe, if we could possibly comprehend it, track it down and understand it in our view of the universe and our plane of existence, if we were capable of that, they couldn't possibly have created us and everything around us. So for me, like, thinking about that makes me believe in a creator more. But I completely understand why hearing the exact same thing, it makes people go, well, that's obviously fucking bullshit. Like, it's like the same, we're hearing the same evidence and coming to the opposite conclusion. Every single thing I learn about the universe and how it was made just makes me feel more and more that, like, there's some sort of person who pushed the start button and created it. And it's been such a good thing for me. And I bought a Bible recently. My pastor recommended, or my reverend, I don't even know what they're supposed to be. I've started reading it, and I got the new international version, so it's not full of these and thous. And And we just had Easter, which is the whole big Jesus thing. And again, with Jesus, I was like, okay, well, it's almost undeniable that Jesus was definitely a real guy, right? There's records of him being crucified, and there's like Roman sources from the time that weren't followers of Christianity and weren't Jewish have all acknowledged the existence of this guy who, if he's not the Son of God, seemed to be like a wise guy with some cool ideas about being nice to each other, right? So if we're all wrong and he's not God, then by following some of the philosophy that he preached, it'll make the world a little bit better. Love your neighbor and treat people how you'd like to be treated is what it all boils down to. And don't hoard your wealth and help poor people, and don't judge respect women even if they're prostitutes. Those are all like cool ideas, right? So even if he was just some like loony hippie guy who was just had a few nice ideas about compassion, I'm like, okay, well, he either was sent by God and he is the Son of God and I'm right and I'll get to chill out with him in heaven, or I will have like a philosophy of kindness that I'm following with a community of people that are also following that, and we're making each other's lives better by hanging out and singing songs every Sunday. So it's a win-win, right? But I was, I'd have these, I've always believed in a God, but I've never prescribed to any one religion. In fact, I always always thought that, like, I think that every book and every religious text is getting the vibe of it right, because I think it's impossible for us to understand God, because if we could comprehend him, he wouldn't be God. It's like an ant cannot possibly know what I'm thinking. It's not, it could get a sense of me, but it would never be able to see me. It could only just feel my thunderous footsteps and maybe my shadow and be like, fuck, I think something's there. But it would never be able to like step back and even if it could physically see me, it could never look into my mind and understand the vastness of it. And that's kind of how I view God. And I've always thought, oh, well, all the books are kind of getting the vibe right. But the more I go and the more I listen to the sermons and the more I read the Bible, I'm like, I think this is actually making a lot of sense to me. And it's actually been hugely beneficial in my life to just like, honestly, it's like God for me is just gratitude and a reminder to try. It's like gratitude to be put here at all, and a constant gentle reminder to try your best to be good to other people on the planet. And to be surrounded by a community of people that are also trying their best to do the same has been so good for me, who has seen so much of the opposite and the evils of mankind. It's just been exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. And I feel like that's not a coincidence. And I feel like all of the things that have been very gently pushing me to go there the first time, and then next time there'll be an organ. Next time there'll be an even better organ player. Hey, guess what? The same denomination that you went to that you really liked, they're around the corner. You can fucking walk there. Oh, you're really worried about women? Well, fucking guess what? The first time you go there, there's going to be a woman reverend. And the second time you're there, even the whole time you're going, yeah, but what about this and what about that? I'm like, all right, fine. So all of those things are okay, but what about the fucking money? Where's the money going? Second time I get literally every single dollar in and out. And after all of those things, I'm like, yeah, but maybe All right, fine. Okay, cool. I'll accept all of this, but maybe Jesus was just a guy. Maybe he wasn't like actually sent by God. And then during Easter, I got asked to do a reading, which I'd never done before, right? Good Friday, which is the day that Jesus was crucified. And I was given a reading, and it's the, what is it? And again, I'm not going to talk about this all the time because this is not a religious podcast, and I don't really want to share this stuff all the time. But so many people have asked me that I'm talking about it, and I imagine all the people who don't give a fuck have checked out. It was Isaiah 53 was the reading that I was given, and that's from the Old Testament, and that was written hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was born. And Isaiah 53, if you Google it, it's about a page, you can read it. It fucking predicts Jesus' birth and the nature of his death and why. Down to the point where there's one sentence, I can't really remember it. Again, I haven't even read the full book, right? So I'm very new to this whole thing. But there's one passage in there in Isaiah 53 that says basically a very disgusting man who everyone looks down upon, who is born into poverty and who is derided, rises up and acts kind to everyone and takes on our iniquities, the iniquities of the world, or our sins, right? All our mistakes and everything, and takes it upon himself. And for that, he is pierced, stabbed with a spear, and he dies and takes our iniquities with him. Like, it literally fucking prophesizes his entire birth and death and why he dies. And I was given that right when I was like kind of being like, okay, well, look, I feel like God's definitely real, but I don't know about all this Jesus thing and the Christian thing or whatever. Maybe it's just like, maybe Jesus was just like a wise philosopher, like Seneca or Epictetus, you know? Maybe he was just like a guy who had a lot of good ideas on how to live a kind life, and that's why he's got so much impact. And then the reading that I get given is like, actually, here's a reading that predicts his life and death. And I'm like, that's crazy. And then I go, yeah, but like, you know, I immediately jump on Google. I'm like, yeah, but surely they just fucking chucked that in the Old Testament after Jesus. And then we're like, look, see. But they found that exact passage written exactly that way in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found, fact check this, but hundreds of years after Jesus, but they were definitely written hundreds of years before Jesus. So it's like, well, fuck, it looks like that prophecy was fulfilled down to a T. So maybe he is real. Maybe he really was sent by God. I don't know. I'm still very, very, very early days on this. Like I said, I've read some passages and some chapters of the Bible. It's a huge book, and I'm jumping around a lot and reading through it. But the main thing that I am getting from it is gratitude and a community of people that are trying their best to be better, and a best friend that I can talk to and pray to whenever I want about whatever I want. And no matter what I do or what I think, he's there with his hand on my shoulder saying, it's okay, mate, I understand, and I believe in you, and I think you can heal from this, or if you've fucked up, I forgive you, and I believe that you can do better, and I'll hold you accountable to that. And there's been so many things in my life that have happened in the lead up to this, like in the short term lead up to this, like a year before all of this, there were some spooky things that happened where that seemed supernatural, that were like gently pushing me to something that I didn't know. And I think it's this. So yeah, I don't know. It's been I was not expecting this. It was the last thing that I thought that I'd be doing is going to church every Sunday and hanging out with like 70-year-olds and helping them paint and walking them home and finding God and reading the Bible and praying and talking to Jesus while I'm walking around. But it's added so much to my life in the, I don't know, less than 6 months I've been going and really opening myself up to the possibility that not only is it real, but maybe I even believe in it. And I'm just giving it an earnest, red-hot go. And right now it's adding a lot. So, but don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I too, when I first started getting into this, even I was like, fucking here we go. Even I was like, he's going to turn into one of those fucking Jesus freaks. I liked this guy. Even I was thinking that. So don't worry. I'm not going to turn all preacher on you. And I'm not going to, and that's why I haven't spoken about it for, in detail for so long, because I didn't want to just be like, week 2, be like, all right, I'm fucking born again Christian. I'm going to stop swearing. And if you're gay and you're listening to this, you better switch off. Yeah, I'm not going to, it's like, I'm finding that it's not necessarily changing me. I feel like it's allowing me to be who I always was and I always have been. It's a real, like, it really feels like I'm returning to myself a lot. And I don't really know what that means because I've never gone to church. I went like a couple of times to youth group when I was a teenager because I had a crush on a girl. But when I asked her on a date and she said, as friends, I went, well, I'm never going back. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still exploring what it means and how it fits into my life. But right now, at the moment, it's been such a beautiful addition having faith and God in my life. So that's all I really have to say about it. I'm not going to talk about it all the time because I don't think that it's supposed to be a super preachy thing. I don't think I'm better than you. If you think I'm speaking a load of bullshit, it's what's going on in my life, and that's what the show's always been. So I don't know, dude. Spearhead Sundays. Maybe it could be maybe I could turn it into like you know what? Okay, hear me out. I know I just said that I wasn't going to let this change me. How about this? Spearhead Sundays, it now turns into a weekly sermon where I just fucking paraphrase whatever my reverend said. I present it as my original thought, and then I start really pressuring you to tithe every week, 10% of your earnings need to go on the Patreon. At the bare minimum through Super Chat. How about that? Probably not. I wouldn't like that either. But yeah, anyway, that's it. I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's kind of my little personal journey with God, and who knows where it'll take me. Hopefully not to the Westboro Baptist Church, but anything's possible. All right, that's it. Have a shit one. Bye.